Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live, and I am going to show you how I made a card with the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set bundle, which is actually available now for customers to purchase, but it's also going to be in the new annual catalog. So it's a bundle and it's beautiful, and it's a stamp set and some pretty dies that coordinate with it. And like I said, the butterfly images are stunning on it. So this is what we're going to be making today. So this is the card, pretty basic. I used a few things that are going to be going away very soon on the retiring list, and a few things that are coming up from the new catalog. So I thought I'd show you, I used a little bit of the new in color, the Soft Succulent, which is a beautiful shade of green. So let's get going. All right, hey Bree and Rosie, thanks so much for joining today. All right, so the stamp set, I'm sure y'all have seen it if you have not. This is the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set, and it actually is, when it comes to you, it is one big stamp. It's a background size, well, background plus size stamp, and I actually took mine like a naughty kid and I chopped it up. Well, one of mine. I kept one whole. So I actually took the whole stamp and just chopped it apart. And it's really easy to do. It's only connected in a couple little places on each of the images. And it's, in my opinion, if you want to just do a single butterflies like I've done, for the most part, that's usually what I like to do on my cards. So it's really easy. Just take a scissors and chop it. The only thing you want to be careful of is that you don't cut the stamp at an angle so you're not undercutting the foam out from underneath it. But otherwise, it's super easy. Just take your scissors straight across, chop, 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 and you cut it all up. And it's super simple, and it's really easy to use. I have seen that people are using a sharp set of tin snips and cutting the big die apart as well. I have not been brave enough to try it. Maybe at some point I will get brave, but I have not. So far the die has been working okay for me because I can take it and put the piece of paper under it wherever I need it to cut on the die, so that hasn't been an issue for me. But this is the Brilliant Wings dies, and again, if you haven't seen it, it's a huge die set. So it's got the big outline die, and then it's got some accessory dies. This one cuts what looks like little bricks. Oh, Mary cut hers apart too. Yep. So it works much better, I think, that way. Hey, Lori and Kathy, thanks for joining today. And I don't know who else I missed. And Trudy, I see, is here as well. And Sheila. So Barbara, I don't know if I said hello already, but if not, Mary is back. Well, there are two Marys here in Maryland. So thanks so much for joining today. I appreciate you being here. All right. So this is the die set, as I was carrying on about. So this one cuts out little brick pieces out of the background, so you can layer something underneath it and it looks really pretty. This one embosses, and it's kind of a crosshatch kind of look. These cut out little butterflies. This cuts out some little dots and things out of the background. Hey, Joy and Karen and Debbie, thanks for joining today. I appreciate you being here as well. And then we have got the kind of more intricate overlay butterfly dies, and they match up perfectly with the butterfly dies. Oops, I got to do it the right way around though. Perfectly with the butterfly dies from kind of the larger background. So you can create some really pretty layering and that sort of thing. And again, it's a huge die set. So this is available right now. Oops, I better put these over here because I'm going to need them for cutting. This is available right now for customers, so you can actually purchase it. And it's, like I said, it's really pretty. There's also some paper that goes with it, and I'll talk about that in one second. The other thing that I used on it for stamps is the Posted for You stamp set. That's where I got the little Just a Note sentiment from. This is one of those stamp sets that is actually retiring on May 4th, so if this is one you love, it actually is bundled together and coordinates with a little rectangle stamp punch, I think is the name of it, but it's a punch that fits perfectly around the little images here, and it's a really good one. So, it's a cute bundle. So this is, again, this stamp set is actually retiring, so if you love it, be sure you're getting it before May 4th so that it doesn't go away before, and then you'll be sad. So, all right, hey Jackie, thanks for joining. So these are the stitched rectangle dies, and as you know, I use them on like 90% of my cards at least. I did cut a piece of designer paper. That's where I used this. I cut this little gingham piece of designer paper out with this particular die from the Stitch Rectangle dies. So that is one of my definite favorites. I also used one of the Tasteful Labels dies. I used this one, which is the little sentiment banner. I guess I should turn it this way. So I used that one to cut out my sentiment. And the last die set that I used, I know I got a little die heavy on this one. I used the Hippo and Friends dies, and I used the middle one of the kind of circular looking dies to cut out the background underneath my butterfly. The good news is all of the die sets that I'm using today are carrying over into the next annual catalog, so they're going to be around for a little bit. However, some of the things I'm using are not, so make sure you get on getting anything that, that you want to get off the retiring list. Well, thanks, Trudy. I must admit, Stampin' Up! Has a color coach, and this is one of the color setups or color things that they did with Soft Succulent for the colors. They put it together with Early Espresso and So Saffron, too many S's. And yes, I mean, that was just, it's really, I love the way it turned out. I don't know that I would have pulled those colors together myself, but I was happy that they had suggested it. So, all right, so next up, we've got the Hey Chick and the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set bundles. These are available until June 30th. These are out of my sidebar on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. So if you haven't seen them yet, they're available until the 30th of June, and they're really cute. This is the original Celebration stamp set, and they've got some new dies that coordinate with it. And then we've got the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set and the Birthday Chick dies. This stamp set is actually in the mini catalog, the current mini, but the dies are not. So again, these are all available either bundled or individually through June 30th. And then I already talked a little bit about the butterfly, and this is the butterfly Brilliance stamp set bundle. So we've got the butterflies, the dies, and they're bundled together, and you get 10% savings, or you can get them individually as well. And again, the bundle is going to be carrying forward into the next annual catalog. And then we've got the pretty natural birch paper, which is the Natural Touch specialty paper is what it's called. So that is also an item. The Natural Touch specialty paper is only available until May 3rd. So if you want some of that, make sure you get on ordering that when you're picking up your last minute retiring things. Okay, I promise I'll stop talking about that and let's get moving on the card. Okay, so I've done a little bit of die cutting and cutting up of papers ahead of time. So this is the So Saffron Designer Series paper, and I've got it upside down, from the Subtle 6x6 Designer Series paper pack. And again, this is one of those paper packs that is retiring. They are bringing out some new color family designer paper packs. But if you love the patterns in this one, make sure you're getting the designer paper packs, because all of the current ones for the all of the color families are actually retiring. So the subtles, regals, neutrals, brights, I know the in colors. Did I name them all? I think I did. So if I didn't, all of the color family ones. So I've cut this to 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and I adhered it to a piece of basic white cardstock that is cut to 3 3/4 by 5. And again, all the measurements are going to be on my blog tomorrow, because I usually say I'm wrong when I'm live, and so trust what's on the blog and not what comes out of my mouth. So next up, I did a little bit of layering with some In Good Taste Designer Series paper, and just cut a little piece of that. That's 1 3/4 by 3 5/8. And I'm not really going to be too terribly worried about getting it precisely in the middle. I just want it to generally be in the middle and to be lined up fairly straight. Now, thankfully, this designer paper in the background does have sort of lines on it with the text, so it's a little bit easier to line it up straight, but the grid lines also help you to do that. So, hey, Patty Jo, thanks for joining from South New Jersey. So, I forgot to say subtles, sorry. Well, I already said it, so we're calling it good. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so this is actually from the upcoming catalog. This is the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper. Well, it's one piece of it. And I've cut it with one of the stitched rectangles dies, so the back side of it actually has some pretty little leaves on it in shades of green. And the pretty little leaves, actually, you can cut out with some of the dies in the coordinating Pansy dies, I think is what that set is called. So yeah, this is some stuff from the upcoming catalog. So I kind of mixed it up and did a little bit of both, and just adhering that onto the card front with a Stampin' seal, I guess. I don't know why I'm struggling to talk today, but I am. So, all right. I pre-cut this ahead of time. This, again, is basic white cardstock, and I cut it with the middle of the kind of more circular dies from the Hippo and Friends dies. This is a die set that's in the current mini catalog and will be in the next annual catalog, so I'm happy about that. That's one of my favorite die sets. So I've got that all set up for layering. And then I stamped this ahead of time so that we had time to make sure that it was dry and I could color it nicely and not have it make a mess. I stamped it in Tuxedo Black Memento ink on basic white cardstock. Make sure I'm using the right end of the marker. And then I've got the new Soft Succulent Stampin' Blends. And I'm coloring, just adding a little bit of color. This is the light one that I'm starting with. Just adding some color to the butterfly here, starting with the little body, and then kind of going out onto the wings a little bit with it. And then I'm going to color here around the edges of the wings. Anywhere where there's a little bit of a darker shadow, I'm adding in some of the Soft Succulent. And again, I'm excited that all the new in colors have Stampin' Blends, so that's always a good thing in my book because I use my Stampin' Blends all the time. So then I've got dark Soft Succulent, and I'm just going to go in and do the really dark areas on this little butterfly right around the body. That was kind of where I wanted to accent it and make sure that the body stood out a little bit from the background. So I did that by just adding in a little bit of the dark Soft Succulent. And then I'm going to bring in my So Saffron blends, and these are in the current catalog, so you can get these anytime. And then I'm just going to color over the top with the light is what I'm starting with, and I'm just coloring over the top of everything. The one nice thing about blends is it really doesn't have to be a coordinating color that you color over it with. They'll kind of blend together no matter what you use. I actually have done some playing around with them a little bit and have colored like pinks and blues together, and they actually turn purple. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I just kind of wanted, I'm not doing a lot of heavy blending on this, just sort of wanted to get the color on it and make sure there were no white spots, but it is doing a little bit of blending all by itself, just by coloring over the top of it. And while I'm coloring, I will talk to you about my Designer Series paper shares from the upcoming catalog. So the new 2021 to 2022 annual catalog, all the new designer papers. I've got a share that I've got posted out on my blog. And if you're interested in getting a good sampling of the new designer papers, join my share. So we've got until the May 4th, I think is what I put as my deadline on it. And oh no, May 3rd. Sorry, it's got to be the day before because I got to get it. I ordered on the 4th, and I'll be expediting my order, like I do with everything, so that it gets here quickly, and hopefully I can get everything cut up and back out to you that following week. So it gives you a nice sampling, a good working sample of papers to use. So that's always kind of fun to have. Never mixed up the blends. Oh yeah, you need to, Karen. It's cool. It's a lot of fun. It's, just kind of, it doesn't, some of them don't work fantastically together, and you may end up with colors that you are a little not quite expecting, but but for the most part, it's really easy to do. So, all right. So while I was chattering, I wasn't telling you what I was doing. I used the dark So Saffron to add just a little bit of color again around the body, and then blended it a little bit more with the light So Saffron, and we are done coloring with that. And now I'm going to pull out my butterfly, or my Brilliant Wings dies. And again, this is the one large die that cuts out the entire image if you stamp it all at once. And I'm just going to run this through my die cutting machine really quickly, which is off to my right, so I'll be off screen for 1 second. Hope you are having a great Tuesday. It's beautiful here in New Jersey today after a weekend of cold and rain and yuck. I think the high yesterday was like 40 degrees or something, and it was cold. Today is beautiful, so happy about that. Always a good thing when it's nice outside. All right, so I've got my die cut done here. I'm gonna clean off my cutting plate a little bit, make sure I get all the paper chunks off it so it's ready to go for the next time. All right, and then when I adhered it on here, I actually kind of lifted up, which I know they're going to get smashed in the mail, but it makes me feel better when I lift it up so it looks a little more realistic. And I used some glue dots to adhere the butterfly to the little Hippo and Friends die cut that I've got set up here. And I just took it, and again, it's not a super precise measurement or anything like that, but just kind of tried to eyeball it and get it fairly close to center. I know it's probably a little bit higher up towards the top, but I kind of like the look of that. So, all right, we're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this to the card front. And these are my chopped in half Stampin' Dimensionals. So yes, I am as Karen calls me, frugal, or I say cheap. But I tend to use the half Stampin' Dimensionals because they hold just as well, and in my opinion, they fit better in a lot of places than the mini ones do, and then the full-size ones do. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so let's get this adhered to the card front, again with Stampin' Dimensionals, and then I got a little bit of twine here that I'm going to wrap around, this linen thread, sorry, that I'm going to wrap around the card front twice, and hopefully I won't make a total mess of my bow like I did on the last live, where I couldn't get it to tie, couldn't get it to do anything, and cut it too short and done too long, and yeah, it was a mess. So, all right, so wrap that around twice, and then when I'm using the thinner baker's twines and linen threads and that sort of thing, I usually tie a little knot first so that it makes it a little easier to get my bow done nicely. And the knot kind of holds everything in place so I can move things around a little bit. And then tie my little knot on here. Oh, one other thing I forgot to say early on is the clearance rack was updated today. So clearance rack is always while supplies last, and there are about 40 or so new items that were out on the clearance rack today. So if you haven't seen it, go take a peek, stop watching me live and go take a peek because you don't want to miss out because clearance rack is always only while supplies last. So, all right, next up we're going to do a little stamping with the Early Espresso ink. And again, it's a sentiment from the Posted For You stamp set. Thrifty is a good word. You like that better than cheap? I don't know. I'm just cheap. So, all right. If I forgot to say it's Early Espresso ink, I can't remember whether I already said that or not. And just stamping it on basic white cardstock. And I'm going to close that up before I stick my fingers in it because I generally tend to. And then I'm going to take my die from the Tasteful Labels dies, and I'm going to use the little banner one, and just going to put it right over the top of the sentiment and roll it through the die cutting machine here. Again, I'll be off screen for just 1 second, off to my right here. And just trying to think if there's anything else exciting I had to tell you about. But yeah, I think as long as you're getting on the retiring list and making sure that you've checked out the clearance rack, and so you're getting all the good deals. The retiring list has quite a few things that are on sale as well, so make sure that you're taking a peek at all those. All right, so there's our sentiment. Let me get my dies put aside here so I don't lose track of everything. And you can either use mini Stampin' Dimensionals if you prefer, or the half Stampin' Dimensionals that I have here. So whatever is your preference on it. But when you are adhering this on, because of the placement of it, you want to make sure that you have the Stampin' Dimensionals so that they are up closer to the top of your die cut. And that's simply because we are going to be placing it over the top of the twine, I've called it twine like 4 times now, linen thread. And I don't want a weird lump in the sentiment, so I just want to make sure that my Stampin' Dimensionals are not stuck over the top of the linen thread. So the Stampin' Dimensionals are actually like right up here, and then I'm just putting it so that the bottom part of it's over the linen thread. So hopefully that makes sense and you can see what I did, but just keep them up towards the top unless you don't mind your sentiment being a little lumpy. So next up I have some of the new 2021 to 2023 in color jewels, and they're very pretty. Again, soft succulent, fresh freesia, evening evergreen, pale papaya, and polished pink. I got them all, so and I think I even got them right. So just some pretty little rhinestone type jewels, and I'm going to put one of those right over here on the sentiment. And I picked the one that I use the coordinating paper, so I use the soft succulent. And then we're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this onto the card front, or half Stampin' Dimensionals. How long have I been a demonstrator? Put me on the spot. I feel like it's 8.5 years is what it's been. I know I joined in May, so maybe I'm getting close to 9 years. So, because yeah, I think next month it will be 9 years for me, I believe. But I'd have to go back and count because I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's been 9 years, I think. So, all right. Early Espresso is the card base, and I've got just adhered on adhered the card front on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. My original card, I did the fold at the top, so it's this type of a card base. This one we're doing fold on the side, so this one's cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. This one is cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5.5. So it's the same exact card front, just a little different in the orientation. That is all. So then I have got the inside of the card left, and we will be all done with this. I'm going to do Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate that. Oh, hey, Jeannie, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you like the card. Hopefully you caught a glimpse of it before I pile a bunch of stuff on the top of it. So, hey, Debbie, thanks for joining. So I'm using Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and again, my chopped up Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. So, and then I'm just going to stamp a little butterfly here, kind of off to the side, like he's flying off the page, or she's flying off the page. I don't know if this butterfly's a girl or a boy. There's probably some way to tell, but I don't know what it is. So, all right, and then we're just going to do the same coloring that we did on the card front with it, and I'm using Soft Succulent, and hopefully I grabbed the light. I'm coloring the body of the butterfly first, and then we're going to go out onto the wings. The one really nice thing about these butterfly images, this one in particular, well, all of them are kind of that way in this set, is that you don't have to be very precise with your coloring. And if you've watched me color before, you know that I'm not very precise with my coloring. I just sort of put the color on the paper, and these stamps are very forgiving, so they let you kind of just put the color on the paper and not have to worry too much about it. So again, I'm going in with the dark Soft Succulent right up next to the body and trying to make it, does it accentuate the body? I don't know. Try to make the body stand out a little bit more from the wings on the butterfly. And then I've got So Saffron that I'm going to come back in here and kind of color over everything and try to blend it a little bit together. I'm starting with the light So Saffron, and I'm going to color over all of the wings. Again, just the same way that I did on the card front with the butterfly. It's just that this is half of a butterfly. And get around here on the bottom of the wing. And hopefully I'm not missing comments. I have a hard time coloring and watching comments at the same time. So if I'm missing anything, I'll go back and take a peek. So Mary Kay says, Don Griffith's husband showed how to cut the dies. Yes, and hey, Kevin, thanks for joining today. So I have seen a couple of demonstrators do it. It's, like I said, it's tin snips, and if you have a good sharp set of tin snips, it's supposedly pretty easy to chop the dies apart. I haven't needed them cut apart, I guess is what my thought is on it. I'm not going to chop them up until I need to. And so far, it's been pretty easy. Once I get just the individual butterfly stamped on a smaller piece of paper, I can very easily get the die and the paper in the spot that I need them to be in order to cut it. So I haven't had to chop up the dies yet. But maybe somewhere down the road, I'll eventually do that. But so far, I haven't needed to. Using a little Stampin' Seal to adhere this to the inside of the card base, and then we're going to be all done for today. So I appreciate you all being here. Thanks so much for joining today. If you have not checked out the clearance rack, make sure you head over there and get anything purchased off the clearance rack, since it's only while supplies last. And make sure you're checking out the retiring items while you're doing that as well, so that you don't miss out on any of the good deals. So, all right, so those are the cards. This is one I made ahead of time. This is the one we made on screen today, so hopefully you like them. I'm so excited about the new in colors. I love them all. Hopefully you do too. So thanks again for joining today. I will plan to be live on my YouTube channel around 2 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, and then back here on Facebook Live around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Tuesday. So thanks again for joining. Again, all the details are going to be posted on my blog for this tomorrow, and I will add a link to this video to send you over to the blog post once it goes live, so you'll be able to check out all the cardstock cuts and everything from there. So again, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and we will chat soon.